years old,
When I was 27 years old,
I left a very demanding job in management consulting
I left a very demanding job in management consulting
for a job that was even more demanding,
for a job that was even more demanding,
teaching.
teaching.
I went to teach 7th graders math
I want to teach 7th graders math
in the New York City public schools.
in the New York City public schools.
And like any teacher,
Unlike any teacher,
I made quizzes and tests,
I made quizzes and tests.
I gave out homework assignments.
I give out homework assignments.
When the work came back,
When the work came back,
I calculated grades.
I calculated grades.
What struck me
What struck me
was that IQ
was that IQ
was not the only difference between
was not the only difference between
my best and my worst students.
my best and my worst students.
So I left the classroom
So I left the classroom
and I went to graduate school to become a psychologist.
and I went to graduate school to become a psychologist.
I started studying kids and
I started studying kids and
adults in all kinds of super challenging settings.
in all kinds of super challenging settings.
And in every study, my question was, who is successful here
And every study my question was, who is successful here
why? One
and why?
characteristic emerged
One characteristic emerged
as a significant predictor of success. And it
as a significant predictor of success.
wasn't social intelligence,
And social intelligence, and it wasn't social intelligence,
it wasn't good looks,
it wasn't good looks,
physical health,
physical health,
and it wasn't IQ.
and it wasn't IQ.
It was grit.
It was grit.
Grit is passion and perseverance
Grit is patience and perseverance
for very long-term goals.
for very long-term goals.
Grit is having stamina.
Grit is having stamina.
Grit is sticking with your future.
Grit is sticking with your future.
Day in, day out,
Day in, day out,
not just for the week,
not just for the week,
not just for the month,
not just for the month,
but for years.
but for years.
And working really hard to make that future a
And working really hard to make the future
reality.
reality.
Grit is living life
Grit is living life
like it's a marathon,
like it's a marathon,
not a sprint.
not a sprint.
So far, the best idea I've heard about building grit
So far, the best idea I've heard about building grit
in kids is something called growth mindset.
in kids is something called growth mindset.
This is an idea developed at Stanford University by Carol Dweck.
This is an idea developed at Stanford University by Carol Dweck,
And it is the belief
and it is the belief
that the ability to learn is not fixed.
that the ability to learn is not fixed,
That it can change
that it can change
with your effort.
with your effort.
Dr. Dweck has shown that when
Dr. Dweck has shown that
kids read and
when kids read
learn about the brain
and learn about the brain
and how it changes and
and how it changes and
grows in response to challenge,
grows in response to
they're
challenge,
much more likely to persevere
they're much more likely to persevere
when they fail
when they fail
because they don't believe that failure is a permanent condition.
because they don't believe that failure is permanent condition.
So growth mindset is a great idea for building grit.
So growth mindset is a great idea for building grit.
But we need more.
But we need more.
And that's where I'm going to end my
And that's where I'm going
remarks, because
to end my remarks,
that's where we are.
because that's where we are.
That's the work that
That's the work
stands before us.
that stands before us.
We need to take our best
We need to take our best ideas,
ideas, our strongest intuitions,
our strongest intuitions,
and we need to test them.
and we need to test them.
We need to measure whether we've been successful, and
We need to measure whether we've been successful,
we have to be willing to fail,
and we have to be willing to fail,
to be wrong,
to be wrong,
to start over again with
to start over again
lessons learned.
with lesson learned.
In other words,
In other words,
we need to be gritty
we need to be gritty
about getting our kids
about greeting our kids
grittier.
grittier.
Thank you.
Thank you.